my favorite tags to do, and I really like it because it's reoccurring. A lot of tags are just like a one-time gig, and so like you want to make them count. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could always do part 2. Who's stopping you? It is time for the end of year Superlatives tag. I just really love this tag to kind of wrap up the whole year of reading. I also really like what people are doing with just like Books in Lala last year. For 2019, she like did this whole really cool where she showed all of her books that she read, and I've kind of been struggling with how I wanted to do a big 2020 wrap up, but now that I'm filming this and it's late, personally I decided to kind of stray away from all the statistics. I still kind of track things for myself, but I've kind of not been sharing as much with you guys, but I will kind of share a few things briefly in this video. I started this year with really in-depth stats, but for me it's really time consuming to organize all of that for a video. And I also feel like it's not something that really makes a really big impact on anyone but me, and even that is still questionable. Of course, if you really like stats, please let me know. Personally, I guess I just kind of changed my mindset with a lot of things that I've kind of started to do recently, and more come towards 2021. I just want to start putting my energy into other things. This is kind of quite last minute that I decided this. As time is of the essence, let's just do it here and now. I feel like most people were just sick and tired of this year. Once the clock strikes midnight, Happy New Year, we'll be hoping that the door hits 2020 in the ass on the way out of yesterday. And we just do not want to keep thinking about 2020. It's like bad juju or something. I really think that 2021, I will be completely rethinking my life and all the different things that I pour my time into. The total number of books that I read in 2020 is 81. Oh, 82. Hopefully 83 by the end of the year. I will go ahead and share some diagrams. One of my big goals for 2020 was to read more diversely, and what I mean by that is to read across more genres and cultures. I honestly think that I could have done better on this, but I did improve from the previous year, and that's the best we can do, right? I still read mostly YA, followed by more adult and then new adult. Second, 21 books or 25% of what I read, and I rated 5 stars. That's actually really good, and I feel like I've become more critical with my 5-star ratings this year. Another 17 books I rated 4.5, and the rest, we don't really need to go over those, but over half of the books that I read this year were rated really high overall. So basically that means I enjoyed most of my reading this year. We definitely like to see this. Finally, as far as genres go, fantasy is the most read genre. I feel like that's really quite vague, and I would like to see diversity within subgenres a little bit more. It's just really hard to calculate because the umbrella is fantasy, and then there's dozens under that umbrella, and some books can carry into several subgenres at the same time. I definitely would still like to read more classic and more thrillers. I think this year I definitely read more of some things, so I'm pleased with that. I just hope to continue reading more in other genres next year. Let's go ahead and get into the Superlatives Tag questions. Question number 1. Most likely to be in the movies, the book that would make the best movie. While I would love to see movies made of some of my favorite fantasies, sometimes I'm just really critical, or I just can't really imagine they would be made into a movie. But I can definitely see a couple of books like Catherine House. While I really didn't care for it much as a book, as everyone else seemed to like it, I can see it being made into a movie. And I would probably like it better if it was just a movie. Another book I think would make a better movie than it was a book was If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is another one I really did not like as much as everyone else. It's basically like an acting trope, and they do a lot of Shakespeare plays. So there's a lot of reading about the characters doing things on stage, and I just think that that would translate a whole lot better into a movie. Question number 2, the biggest drama queen or king, the most overly dramatic book or character. Instantly when I started preparing these questions for this video, the biggest drama queen or king would definitely have to go to Will Herondale from The Infernal Devices, or Jace Herondale from Mortal Instruments. He got the award last year for 2019, or the entire book of If We Were Villains, just because, hello, drama, class, kind of an obvious one there. But now, because I started scripting this before I read this book, the characters from Beautiful Disasters definitely gets this title. I can't even get into it here. I've already talked about it in a wrap-up. The reason I read this book for the Nicole Reads reading vlog. If you want to see more feelings and thoughts on that book, definitely go check out those videos. I'll leave them in the description box below. Question number 3, best dressed. The book with the best cover. Honestly, this is so hard, and I think it could definitely be divided into different categories potentially. One of the books I definitely recall talking specifically about the cover was The Dutch House. To me, the cover was really intriguing. I saw this as an arc, but the cover had me, and it made me want to pick up this book from the start. The cover actually has a real meaning to the story, and it's the most insignificant detail of the book, and it's not revealed until the very end. And for some reason, unbeknownst to me, I love it. I don't know why. It's completely silly. Beyond that, I really like the cover of Mexican Gothic. I really like the aesthetic to the Pirate King. If We Were Villains has 2 covers. One has like flowers on it, and then like another one has like a skull on it. Despite my feelings about the book, it has a really nice cover. I don't know. I just think that it was most shocking to me how much I latched on to the Dutch House's cover, so that's going to be my final answer. Question number 4, most creative. The book with the most unique plot, characters, or structure. Again, I have 3 for this. You seriously cannot just pick one. The first one I have on my list is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. Although this is definitely kind of a fairy story, fairy stories aren't really unique, or even like fae hybrids. I found that the dynamic with the world and the city being so mixed and modern, where different species of fae worked and lived together, was especially unique. I found Bryce Quinlan, the main character of this book, really refreshing, unique with characteristic that I really don't see much. Mostly, she really stood out to me in the way that she has a full range of emotions. I keep saying motions. Emotions. For instance, her grief and anger were definitely very strong and very prominent motivators in her actions, but also not totally consuming. She's really realistic in the way her character cycles through emotions and feels grief and anger when it's triggered. The next one on this is Mexican Gothic. To me, the plot was very unique. This is probably the first Gothic horror that I have read. So to me, it was unique in my reading experience. I'm finding a lot of people didn't care for this book as much as I did, but I also find that they are readers who are very familiar with Gothic literature. I think that maybe makes the difference. I did not anticipate what was going on with this. That's one thing I really struggle with, the types of thrillers that I'm picking up, is I just find them anticlimactic and not very surprising. Yeah, I just did not anticipate what was going on with this. I think for me, what was really surprising about this is I was kind of expecting a ghost story, something supernatural. And while it was definitely supernatural, it was more scientific. I thought it was brilliant. Can't really give too much away without spoiling it. Also, a dinner party. It's quite early on in the book when our main character first gets there and sits down with dinner with the whole household, family, their family. I liked it. It was definitely a unique experience for me. So for me, that definitely makes the list. The last one on this list is Mistborn. This gets the most unique for magic system. It was just so well constructed with complex rules and consequences. I loved how it was based in real physics and science. Question number 5, most popular. The book with the most rating was on Goodreads. This one, I had to look it up, was Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. This isn't really a favorite question of mine because it's always a backlisted title, which makes perfect sense that it would be most rated just because it's had years to gain ratings, right? I really kind of wish it would narrow it down to like most read title of the year. or whatever. So moving on. Question number 6, most likely to succeed. The book that is going to be appreciated for many years to come. That's like impossible. That's like asking what your favorite book of all time is or favorite book of the year, and there's always going to be like several. So as per usual, my most narrowed down list is possible. Don't forget, I had 21 5-star reads. So 1, probably Crescent City. I love fantasy. I love Sarah J. Maas's writing style. And Crescent City is the first in a new series, so I will absolutely be looking forward to the next book. And the next book, I don't know how many books she plans on putting on in this series. That will obviously keep me entertained. Other books I've mentioned that will stick with me. One book I haven't mentioned in this video that definitely will stick with me is Dead Poets Society. This is definitely an older, backlisted title. I fell in love with this book. I am dying to watch the movie, and I read this on ebook, but I really want to find a copy of this book. Again, I said Dutch House. I think that one's going to stick with me for a while. The reason that this book makes the list is not because I'm particularly passionate about it, as I am super passionate about fantasy, because it's from a genre they don't typically read from, and the fact that it just really stuck with me and grasped my attention is really exciting for me, and it will propel me to read more from this genre, so that definitely will carry over for years. Another one among this sort of genre is City of Girls. That book was so good. I just fell in love with it, and I fell in love with it in a little bit different way than I did with Dutch House. Honestly, I didn't like Dutch House for the first half of the book. Again, Mexican Gothic is on this list. It's the first Gothic horror I've ever read. I'm still riding that train where I just want more. Another one kind of in that genre was Interview with the Vampire. Monumental book for me because I just love vampire stories, and how is it that I never read one of the most iconic vampire novels yet? And then finally, Mistborn. Love it so much. Question number 7, Class Clown, the book that made you laugh. Now, there was no single book that had me rolling. There's more like moments within books that were pretty funny. One purely comedy book was Tina Fey's book, which I ended up DNF'ing. While I really enjoyed the beginning, it was hilarious, it ended up being too forced and it ceased to be funny. Truly Devious had some really funny moments. I just love Stevie's sense of humor, mostly just in the openings. I just love the way she thinks. It's like my type of humor that matches my sense of humor perfectly. Bryce Quinlan from Crescent City and Hunt was hilarious. They had some epically funny moments. Question number 8, Most Improved. The book that started off slow but really picked up immediately. I have to go with the Dutch House. Again, I kind of already said it. The other one is Crescent City. That one, it's pretty consistent that everyone who's read this book says the first 100 pages, you're just kind of lost. So therefore, it feels like a slow start to the world because you're just trying to get your bearings on the world before it kind of starts to come together. The ending picks up super fast. All this shit happens at the end. Question number 9, the cutest couple. The cutest couple in a book, Bryce Quinlan and Hunt. They definitely win best couple. They're really funny and they're well written. They have a chemistry, and specific things that they do are actually written into the novel, which a lot of books just do not even spend the time to do that. For one thing, Bryce likes to edit his contacts from her name, and she'll change her name a lot with silly names. I forget which some of them are, but she'll be like, most awesome roommate or the sexiest woman alive, and she constantly does that. And he's not one to really take pictures on his phone, and he uses it to call, and that's it. She puts a bunch of pictures in his phone, and it's so funny. She just really brings a lot of fun and humor into his life. When she first met him, I don't know that it was super funny exactly, but I kind of thought it was funny. But she gave him such a hard time. I really wasn't on board with this relationship. I'm still not 100% with it, but it was still really well written and fleshed out. Other notable cute relationships are Magnus Bane and Alec Lightwood. Of course, how could I not mention them? And finally, Lael and Gita from The Tattooist of Auschwitz. This is a real-life love story, so how could I not mention it? But it has seriously been put to the test. Lael meets Gita in Auschwitz. He risks his life every day just to do sweet little things for her. But they get separated after the camp closes or something. They're separated for years. And somehow he manages to escape. He makes a point to go find her. He didn't even know if she for sure survived or where she was, but like, he found her. Question number 10, the biggest heartbreaker. The book that broke your heart. I didn't really actually read a lot of, I don't read a lot of sad books. I purposefully will avoid purely tear-jerking books. For the most part, like, I hate crying. So the book for this is again The Tattoosh of Auschwitz. Despite the outcome, the journey was just so chilling and make you so sad that people could treat people like that, and it's real. So it definitely takes the cake for the saddest book. Also, Dead Poets Society. I just fell in love with all the characters so much, and there's so many things that were sad about it. Obviously, the most obvious was that kid. But beyond that was the scrutiny that the teacher went under. I just felt the crushing disappointment and sorrow and frustration. It's such a short book, but man, do you feel all the feels. And on that note, why is that one the last question? Because now I'm ending this video with a very sad note, thinking about like the saddest books. So anyways, but thank you so much for watching. If you have done this tag, or if you have a wrap up that you would like to share, you'd like me to go watch, drop it below. I would love to go see how your year of reading was. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.